Picture a man sitting in his office at 99 years old. On his desk, a can of Coke Zero, a bowl of peanut brittle from C's Candy, and a stack of books with no particular order to them, just whatever he happened to be reading that week. No Bloomberg terminal. No team of advisors calling in with updates. No portfolio dashboard refreshing on a second screen. Just the books, and the peanut brittle, and the quiet. That man was worth $2.2 billion. His name was Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's partner. The person Buffett has publicly called the smartest man he has ever known. And here is the number that stops most people cold. Munger started from zero. After his divorce in 1953, he handed every asset he owned to his former wife and walked out with a badly rusted Oldsmobile and 3 children. Zero savings, 40 degrees below zero. He rebuilt from scratch over 7 decades into $2.2 billion. Buffett is richer, but Buffett also started with more. Munger's return on starting capital from nothing, rebuilding from 40, is arguably the more remarkable mathematical story. His Wheeler-Munger investment partnership, which he ran from 1962 to 1975, compounded at 19.8% annually. Not Buffett's returns. Munger's, on his own money, from nothing. So what did he actually do differently? He didn't study how to build wealth, he studied how to destroy it, and then systematically avoided everything on the list. He called it inversion. The idea came from the mathematician Carl Jacobi, who said simply, invert. Always invert. Instead of asking, what do I do to get rich? Munger asked, what do people do that keeps them poor? Then he removed those behaviors from his life, one by one, with the same rigor he applied to removing bad investments from his portfolio. The result was not a strategy. It was 4 specific things he never spent money on. And what those 4 decisions compounded into over 70 years is the actual lesson nobody is talking about. Let me show you all 4. The first thing Charlie Munger never spent money on: the bigger house. In 1959, a 35-year-old Charlie Munger bought a house in Hancock Park, Los Angeles, for approximately $52,000. He lived there for 64 years, until his death in November of 2023. Not a bigger house, not a second property, not a Malibu beachfront or a Palm Springs retreat. The same house he bought when he was rebuilding from nothing. The instinct to upgrade housing is the most expensive automatic behavior wealthy people carry. It feels inevitable. Income rises, housing expectations rise with it, and each move triggers a cascade. New furniture, new neighborhood social expectations, a new level of life that everything else has to match. Each cascade makes the previous level feel inadequate, which generates the pressure for the next move. There is a woman named Priya, 42, a senior director in Atlanta, earning $130,000 a year. In 8 years, she has moved 3 times. Each time, she moved up. The transaction costs, moving expenses, and the inevitable settling-in spending cycle averaged approximately $36,000 per move. $108,000 in 8 years spent simply on the act of moving upward. At 8% returns over 25 years, that is approximately $790,000 she will not have at 67. She does not think about it this way. Nobody told her to think about it this way. Munger thought about it this way. Every time. The second thing Charlie Munger never spent money on: financial complexity. Munger once said, diversification is protection against ignorance. It makes little sense if you know what you're doing. He was not a many-fund, many-manager, many-advisor man. He ran concentrated positions. He made large bets on things he understood deeply and left everything else entirely alone. And he never paid an outside advisor to manage his wealth for him. Standard wealth management fees on a portfolio the size of Munger's run between 0.5% and 1% annually. On $2.2 billion, 1% is $22 million every year. Paid whether the market goes up or down. Paid whether the advisor adds value or not. Compounded over 30 years, the true cost of paying that fee is not the fee itself. It is the compounding that fee would have produced if kept. At 8% over 30 years, $22 million per year becomes approximately $2.4 billion in foregone growth. The fee does not feel expensive. The math is devastating. The principle is not fire your advisor. The principle is what Munger spent his life building, what he called a latticework of mental models. Genuine understanding of what you own and why you own it makes expensive complexity unnecessary. He read for 5 hours a day, every day, for the better part of 70 years. That was his research department. That was his investment committee. That was his entire due diligence operation. One person, 5 hours, 70 years. He called himself a book with legs. The third thing Charlie Munger never spent money on: status purchases that depreciate. Munger drove ordinary cars. He wore ordinary clothes. He ate peanut brittle and drank Coke Zero, and appeared by all visible evidence to not find any of this insufficient. At 99 years old, with $2.2 billion, he ate the same things he ate at 60. Not because he lacked options, because he had systematically eliminated the mechanism that makes the options feel necessary. The mechanism is status, and status purchases share one mathematical property that Munger understood clearly. They return negative 100% plus the ongoing compounding the capital would have otherwise produced. There is a man named Marcus, 38, a software engineer in Austin, earning $220,000 a year. Leased car, $1,200 a month. Watches, $9,000 in the last 2 years. Wardrobe updated twice a year to stay current in his professional circle. Total annual status spend, approximately $43,000. He does not call it a status spend, he calls it living at his level. Munger would have called it the deliberate destruction of compounding. At 8% over 25 years, $43,000 per year is approximately $3.4 million. His watch collection will resell for perhaps 18 cents on the dollar. The math is uncomfortable but undeniable. The fourth thing Charlie Munger never spent money on: entertainment that doesn't compound. This is the one nobody talks about because it sounds extreme. Luxury travel, exclusive social events, high-end dining experiences, the experience economy. These are sold constantly and aggressively as investments in yourself, in your relationships, in a life well lived. And sometimes they genuinely are. Munger never denied that experiences have value, but his revealed preference, what he actually chose to do with his time and discretionary money for 99 years, was reading. Books, annual reports, biographies. He once said he has not had a new idea in 40 years that didn't come from something he read. Read that again. A weekend at a luxury resort for someone at Munger's wealth level runs approximately $4,000 to $6,000 all in. That money, deployed into reading instead, costs nothing. And the compounding is not financial, it is cognitive. The person who spends 40 years building genuine knowledge competes differently, invests differently, and earns differently than the person who spends 40 years accumulating experiences with no knowledge residue. Munger's inversion of this: he didn't ask what would be fun this weekend. He asked what spending would make him smarter. Everything else was deprioritized. This is not a call to stop living. It is Munger's actual philosophy, applied. Inversion. Before spending, ask the question he asked. What does this money stop becoming? Not what it buys, what it stops becoming. That question, asked consistently with real arithmetic over 40 years, is worth approximately $2.2 billion in verified results. Here is what you can do today. Write down your 4 largest discretionary spending categories from the last 12 months. For each one, calculate the annual total. Then do what Munger did. Invert it. For each category, Ask not, what does this give me, but what would this have become if I had invested it instead every year for 30 years? Run the number at 8%. Write it down next to the spending category. Look at both numbers at the same time, without looking away. This is not guilt. This is arithmetic. The same arithmetic Munger ran every time he made a decision about money, not at the face value, but at the future value. Not what it costs to let it stop compounding. Picture yourself at 70. The morning is quiet. In one version, you are running the same mental calculation you have been running since your 40s, whether the numbers add up this month, whether the savings are enough, whether the plan is still on track. In the other version, you stopped running that calculation a long time ago. The numbers resolved themselves because of decisions you made in your 30s and 40s that did not feel significant at the time. They felt like small choices. They felt like not upgrading the house, driving the older car, skipping the advisory fee, choosing the book over the resort. Munger never called that sacrifice. He had a different word for it. He simply called it arithmetic. If this helped you get one step closer to financial freedom, hit that subscribe button. Let's build wealth together.